Good afternoon, good morning, good evening from wherever you are in the world. Sean Hewitt here from the Trusted Business Community Association. And today I am joined by one of our latest accredited members who's got an accredited service standard for his service excellence, and that is Dr. Philip Robert Mack. And he runs a company called livefunctionally.com. Based in the States, he's a chief executive officer with over 5 years of experience. Um, he lead he led in innovative innovations to transform the health and well-being and productivity of executives and small business owners. He does that by leveraging his expertise in functional nutrition, wellness, and development of personalized strategies to make sure that they address their goals. He clears things like brain fog, fatigue, and empowers clients that he works with to achieve sustainable lifestyle changes aligned with not only their life, but their business goals. Philip, it's great to have you with us.
Wow, thank you, Sean. Thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. And so I want to at least give you an idea how I started all this
Yeah,
because,
by all means, that was going to be my question, Philip. My first question to you was going to be, can you
okay,
give us a little bit of a backdrop as
yeah,
to where
sure,
you come from,
sure.
and how the journey has brought you into what you're doing today? And then what we'll do is we'll then talk about, I'll ask you the next question, which will be towards what you are doing today. But let's start with the backdrop, shall we? Um, Tell us a little bit about the history of Philip Robert Mack and where you came from and what brought you up to this point in your life.
Okay, well, an interesting story. So when I was growing up, I wanted to help people, and so I thought that studying to be a doctor would be the thing to do because you're helping other clients and helping patients to get better. But so I practiced medicine for over 20 years. Went to school and also traveled to Mexico and did some of my training in Spanish. And also came back and was practicing internal medicine, pulmonary medicine, critical care, and my life was crazy, but treated thousands of patients. Uh, and it was a pill for an ill mentality, which is the way traditional medicine is right now. And so the way that is that people keep coming back over and over with the same thing over and over again. And so I had to wonder, what was really happening, how people were getting better. And so they would schedule their monthly follow-ups and they'd come back and they'd get their prescription refills. And there were times when I would suggest to them, well, maybe we don't need medications. Maybe we can just look at things and see why things are happening. And people weren't really interested in that. And that was what the insurance would cover. They wouldn't cover anything beyond, getting their prescriptions. And along the same time, I had to upkeep a certain standard, and I wasn't keeping my standard because I had become ill and I had suffered from irritable bowel, which can be related or certainly attributed to anxiety and depression. But I was diagnosed with bipolar depression, and I also had ADHD. And I wasn't sleeping well, I wasn't eating well, and my life suffered as a result. And I had to step back and I had to really look at things because I was on medications. They had lots of side effects, and I wasn't functioning well. I wasn't staying awake, talking to patients. And so I had to change something because obviously something had to give. And so I took a step back and I had to look at what was going on. And it took me several years to figure things out. But because traditional medicine wasn't working, I ended up exploring alternative and holistic ways to get better. And it took some time, it took several years before I was able to heal myself with my symptoms of depression went away. I was off medications. I was able to heal my gut and I was able to improve my brain function, relieve the brain fog and memory and more mental clarity and more productivity. And So then I said, well, I need to do something because now I know that I went through this, I can help other people. And so I decided to become a certified functional nutrition counselor, health coach, and practitioner, consultant. And now what I do is I focus on helping people improve their health span and their lifespan. And I focus predominantly on the connection between the brain and the gut and habit. And the way that works is that the brain is obviously exposed to toxins and negative thinking, which can affect our mind and how that affects our gut. And the gut, with respect to the food that we eat and how the toxins, how we metabolize our food, and how that affects the brain function. And it's connected. And so working on that connection between the two and focusing on the health of the gut is the way that a lot of people can really heal themselves. And so I think as busy executives, what we need to do is to focus on ourselves more, and we need to make sure that we're eating the right foods, and we need to focus on, just our stress management and our negative thinking, and really caring for ourselves and trying to manage whatever things are going on in our life, because I think these things can kind of slip away from ourselves. And so that's what I do today. And
Can I take you back? I mean, obviously, I'm right with you. I'm right with you in everything that you just said there. I'm not somebody who visits the doctor that often. In fact, the doctor has to drag me through the door to say, "Sean, you're going to come in. We don't know what you look like anymore." But um, that's not saying I've not had health issues in the past, and I've relied on the services of the NHS over here in the UK, and a great job they've done. But I'm not somebody who wants to continue to take pills, and I always look for different alternatives. And you mentioned about the gut and tying that in with busy executives, I think is really important, because there's a saying, I don't know if you have a saying over in America there, but the saying over here is you are what you eat. And I don't know if you've heard that one, but that's what a lot of people would say. And of course, a, a functioning brain needs fuel. So it's all about the type of fuel that we're putting into our body to create the functionality of our brain matter. And of course, we've got two brains. We've got the gut and the head and the brain inside our head, haven't we? And I'll get all of that. And I think the key to almost like an educational thing for many busy executives is to take time out and give themselves the time to eat correctly, rather than I'll just grab something from the fast food shop or fast food counter and just eat for the sake of obviously just filling up because I'm hungry.
right.
It's actually taking the time to probably, in fairness, to prepare before the day is there, and take with you something healthy and nutritional, so that it's feeding you with the right sort of volumes of energy as an energy source that will be sustainable over a long period of a day, especially if you're on the run a lot or you're working hard, you're working long hours. There's so much to be said about the healthy eating for busy business owners, and yet it's the one of the things I'm not saying I'm not saying I am like, oh yes, I'll go and make myself a healthy meal before the day, and then I've just prepared dinner for this evening, and we've got a lovely meal. It's all fresh, it's all freshly cut. We're having a nice chicken dish, and I've just prepared it before my wife comes back from dialysis, as you know she's on. But I've taken time out to make sure that we eat correctly this evening. And I'm not saying I don't occasionally go, oh, do you fancy something from the takeaway or the takeout? I'm not saying we don't do that, but there's everything in moderation, isn't it? And it's about making sure that we keep an eye on what we fuel our body with, and wherever possible in the busy times that we live in, make time for a healthy option as opposed to a quick fix, which will only maybe give you a certain amount of energy for a very short period of time, because the value of that food that we've eaten only allows a little bit of energy, whereas something else would give us much more energy and see us out throughout the day. So
Right.
I get where you're coming from. Totally get where you're coming from. And So the people that you work with, I mentioned it in the introduction. You've touched on it a little bit with regards to people working in busy environments. Those people, obviously, your audience, your clients, are they mainly busy executives? Are they, or is it a variation of different types of people from different walks of life?
Well, most of my clients are usually busy executives over the age of 40, men and women who suffer with brain fog, low energy, or they're having issues managing their stress. A lot of times they have a family, they have children, and they're trying to juggle everything and trying to, just kind of see where things go. And a lot of times they're not really focused on the food that they're eating. And they're not really focusing on, sitting down and just relaxing or taking time throughout the day to, just kind of take a step back and, just kind of be aware of, the surroundings and to kind of take some breaks and just kind of relieve some of the stress in between so they can go from meeting to meeting and be refreshed. And or also just kind of coming up with the right mindset as far as, what they're doing in order to focus on, what do I have to do, and try to be less scattered. But I think it's important that the right kinds of food, as you said, food is medicine. And instead of taking prescription medicines, we use food. And food is certainly one of the cornerstones. But I think there's other things as well, other lifestyle things such as hydration, connecting with nature, connecting with family. Sleep is important, and then any kind of movement is important as well. I think as busy executives, sometimes, we don't really make the time to exercise, or we don't make the time to connect with our spouse or connect with nature or get some morning sunlight. And so I think these are things that are really important. And, sometimes things can get away from us and we really kind of lose sight of the fact of just who we are and what we're doing and just focus on just simple habits on doing the proper things, making sure we take time, we chew our food, we relax, we spend time with family, we take care of ourselves most importantly, and take care of our mind and our thinking.
I think it's you hit the nail on the head there with there's so many other tonics, if you like, that are available to you that can help you along that path of feeling much better, much stronger in one's self, and time, sleep, taking time out, sunlight, all those things that you've mentioned there are all key factors. But again, there's those busy executives, those business owners, the small entrepreneurs, the small business entrepreneurs. They probably started off life thinking, I want work-life balance. I've heard this so many times,
Right.
and yet they find themselves working harder, longer, and for deeper into the night because they're now their own business owner and they feel obligated to be almost sort of tied to the desk, and yet how functional they will be over a period of time. That may work for a while, but there comes a point where they hit the cliff and over they go. And then, of course, you've got burnout that comes along
Yes.
with things like overwhelm and all the other things that are leading up to the ultimate, which is the burnout at the end of it. I'm feeling totally like out of control and out of touch with what you originally set up to be your own boss, be your own business owner for. So it's really important. From the coffee drop-in that we do on a Friday, Philip,
Yeah.
we have often talk about what you're up to at the weekend,
Yeah.
and occasionally, and I mean occasionally, so far once this year, I've done a few hours on a week on a Saturday morning. But when I get to Friday, I've done best part of 60 hours in the week,
Mhm.
from Monday to Friday. It's not a 9 to 5 working environment, is it? Especially when we're dealing with professionals like you and I are. You're over there in America, I'm over here in the UK. It's all about trying to find the right time slot for somebody. So sometimes it does mean some extended hours in the day. But even though I have an extended hours in the day, I know I'm working till like last night, I was working till 11:45. I took some time out yesterday because I knew I was working later. And it's having that strength, I suppose, in controlling your own destiny because, Otherwise, the job it just becomes another job, and it doesn't become an enjoyable thing that you're doing if you're just a slave to your business. So I do block my diary out. I do go out. I do stretch my legs. I do come away from the computer. But sometimes the day is long. But the next day, if I've worked a long day, I'll start a bit later in the day and work till I'm finished. But I always make sure I've got some gaps in the day, and that goes hand in hand with, like you quite rightly say, the fuel that we're fueling our body with, making sure that we're giving ourselves the right intake to be able to, obviously function properly, but at the same
Right.
time we need all the other things to go along with it to make sure that we remain healthy and unstressed. So yeah, no, I totally get it. Now, obviously, I'm sure people listening into this YouTube big interview that we're on now, I'm sure there's people going, do you know what? What Philip just said, I can see that in myself. I can see that myself. I am that person that Philip's just mentioned. And what Sean's just
Right.
said, yeah, I can see what Sean. I'm sure there's going to be people out there who are listening into this interview who would resonate in what you've just told us. So, based on that, these people wanting to get hold of you, Philip, need to know where they can find you. So, where do you hang out on social medias? Where can you be found online? Tell us a little bit about
So
where you're at.
predominantly LinkedIn at Philip Robert Mack, and the same handle on Instagram, Philip Robert Mack, and also on Facebook, Philip Robert Mack. And I have a website which is livefunctionally.com, and they can
Of
find lots of
course.
information there, and that should be enough places to see what I'm all about.
And if you know if you know us at the Trusted Business Community Association, obviously don't forget Philip is on our directory as well. So you can find him there with all of his contact details, his email address, his phone number, his social media accounts. So you can find him all in one place on our directory. Philip, it's been a pleasure having an interview with yourself. I mean, you've only recently joined us, but over a period of time, we've got to know each other really well. You've been a brilliant advocate for from the within the meetings. And Philip, you're just to let people know listening in, if you are about tomorrow around about 4:30 UK time, and if you're in the States, it'll be about 11:30 USA time. Well, depending on where you are in the USA, 5 hours behind. So that's East Coast, isn't it? So 5 hours behind, and obviously beyond that, if the further you go across the states. But tomorrow, Philip is going to be our keynote speaker at our Western International. And if you are listening in and you have got access to LinkedIn, go to the Trusted Business Community Association's page on LinkedIn, click on the events, say you're coming, and I'll send you a personal invite so you can hear more about what this great man has got to say and offer, especially if it's what he's just said has resonated with you as part and parcel of your everyday life and everyday functionality. Um, Philip, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining me at the big interview. For those who are listening in, don't forget to like and subscribe below. Like this interview, subscribe to the channel, and you'll find us on YouTube/TTBCA. So just the AppSat and then TTBCA afterwards. Go and like it, like the this video. Go and have a look at the others. There's more to come. Believe you me, there will be part 2 with Philip Mack as well coming soon. Thanks ever so much, Philip, for joining us. Till
Thank
next
you,
time,
Sean.
thanks ever so much, and hope everybody enjoyed our little big interview there to find out a little bit more about Dr. Philip Mack, who is here to help those business owners and those professionals to make sure that you stay on top of your game. Till next time, thanks for joining us. Bye for now.